Well, hi everyone. So if anyone stumbled upon this video, a little background before I go into it, but I've done some previous videos in the last couple years, off and on with, mostly with the EA Sports game, the EA Sports PGA Tour, I should say. Kind of basically, like originally doing thoughts on the trailers and stuff, course reviews when they did updates. Mostly around that. The main reason is like I like golf a lot. Like I do play it. Not the best player in real life, but I enjoy it. And I really did like the EA Sports PGA game, and I've actually did play the 2K games before too, like the previous two. More so with I would say PGA two that 2K21, not as much 2K23. I think the big issue I had with 2.3, it just didn't feel like a big upgrade when I got it. And then also on top of that, it felt like that's not too long when the EA Sports came out. I thought the EA Sports did a better job, or at least with the overall package. I think when it comes to the gameplay, that's a little bit your personal preference. I don't mind the more arcade style with the EA game, but I did think like 2K did a better job in making swings more customizable and like different feel for it. But then I think like the course physics was a lot better in the EA Sports game, along with the graphics and the overall career mode. So that's kind of the background of the previous generation. Now we're going into a new generation here, or at least with PGA Tour 2K with 2K25, and they done a couple trailers. But like last day or two, they did My Player My Career trailer, and I thought it was an interesting trailer because this one is actually very in depth. It shows various things. And the big thing I care about a lot, or at least for me, what I enjoyed most about the EA Sports game was the career mode. I like going through the season. I like the career path on Corn Ferry into the PGA Tour. Qualifying for the Masters, qualifying for the elevated events. So I did like most of the trailer be focused on that, but we will glance over some of the other stuff. We are gonna watch this trailer verbatim by any means, but we'll like fast forward to a few parts, show a few parts. Luckily, again, they did a really good job. Excuse me, showing like the different chapters and parts of the trailer and so forth. We'll talk a little about customization. It looks like they're upgrading this as well in this game. So I don't think it's anything like the like NBA 2K, for example, or even probably like the Madden or FIFA franchise, which I think does a pretty good job with their customization. But anyway, first I'll start. First this. Sorry, backtracking. But most of this video will be about impressions, what I think of the game, but mostly focus on career mode. And then maybe at the end, all right, take this back. After this part, I do actually want to go and actually compare. I got all the courses that are based on, sorry, let me phrase it. All the license courses and the tournaments of the PGA Tour and what's in each game, what's in both, some differences and so forth. Because obviously the big thing with this game, they got 3 of the 4 majors. Only the Masters will not be in it because they got a license agreement with EA Sports. And after that, I do really just want to talk about what's I guess about EA and what's really the lack of news and what's going on there, and some of my thoughts about that. But anyway, but we're gonna start like first. The graphics definitely look better. Yeah, that's the thing with 2K2123. It didn't really feel like even like a jump graphically, and I don't expect like a whole new engine, but I do expect an improvement. It just didn't feel like it. Well, I think this one looks a lot better. Definitely's got better shadows. I feel like. It's got Quote Hollow, and I think it did a pretty good job. Also trying to capture like the look and feel of the major there with the stands and so forth. So that looks it looks good. It definitely looks like an improvement. Now is it better than EA? I think EA has looked a little better, but these are trailers, so it's hard to say what the final product is, and so forth. And I apologize if I'm clearing my throat. It's just in the winter. It's never clear. It feels like.
Start their journey, either in Q School, on the Corn Ferry Tour, or jumping directly to the PGA Tour. Players compete in tournaments in a schedule that mirrors the real-life PGA Tour as they vie for points, with the goal of finishing in the top 70 and earning a spot in the playoffs with a chance to compete for the coveted FedEx Cup. A pillar of ours at HB is to give players the most authentic PGA Tour experience possible. So let's jump into some of the key additions this year.
All right, so let's backtrack here. So this is the good part I see here is first They have Q Skill, Corn Ferry Tour Championship, and PGA Tour. That's not too different from how they did it in EA Sports. A big difference, though, from what I've seen so far, you can actually start as an actual amateur in the EA Sports and play in the U.S. Amateur Championship. Or if you did a female character, you get to play into the Augusta female tournament, a women's amateur tournament that they do at Augusta the week before the Masters. And then if you qualify, like let's say you win the US AM, then you get to play as an AM in the Masters and the US Open. I don't think they allowed you to play the Open Championship, even though I think you would qualify for that. But at least like two of the majors as an amateur. And if you won any one as an amateur, then you automatically become a pro in the PGA Tour because that is a pathway there. It hasn't ever happened, or at least not in decades when the last time amateurs won a major, I think in the 50s. So, and that was that's not even like today's PGA Tour by any means. But anyway, so that's kind of the start. They're kind of showing the overview. Now the next part, it's kind of more about the swing and stuff, but I did at least want to show this here. I'm pretty sure this is Quail Hollow or Pinehurst.
I think every golfer looks for in their clubs. But what if you could have it in your swing too? Introducing Perfect Swing. One of our goals, alongside making the most authentic golf game on the market, is delivering the most accessible golfing experience. Our Perfect Swing difficulty setting does just that. As our new players,
I will say this looks promising. I'm gonna they're showing different transitions, the push, rhythm. So it looks like they're really enhancing the gameplay, and it looks like they borrowed some elements that reminds me a little bit of EA, but definitely looks a lot more advanced, and even I would say customizable, challenging, and so forth. Yeah, then they show the Evo
Swing emphasizes precision inputs over the swing timing of the past. Don't worry, 3-click has evolved right alongside Swing Stick. Both swing input types are made up of 4 parts, as you can see here in our swing feedback meter. The transition, the expanding ring, sets the power and distance control. During the backswing, the swing path at the bottom sets the push-pull of the shot. The rhythm, the collapsing ring, applies a distance control modifier to the shot. During the downswing, the contact at the top sets the hook slice of the shot.
All right, out of that bunker, onto the green.
So overall, that's really cool. Now, when I played, I did more stick. I like doing the analog sticks with a controller. But I did like they're really up in the 3 clicks and doing different ways with this, which I think looks really good. Like they just reflect more, I guess you'd say golf in real life. Just depending how, the best way I'm trying to describe it is when you go for swing your downswing. There's times with golfers you're going too shallow or too deep where you hit behind it, or where you're pushing the ball and next thing you're pushing it more right or left. So it looks like they're really trying to emphasize the swings and the various mechanics, how little nuances and little stuff can alter your shot quite a bit. This one part I did at least want to go because I did thought it looked
complete with revised ball physics that allow the ball to roll and react to terrain with much more accuracy than before. Our all-new shot prediction system allows us to predict exactly where your shot will go the moment the ball leaves the club face. This allows
I'm really glad to see that because I did thought that was not. I thought EA did a lot better job than 2K23. And a good example. This is at World Liverpool. I recorded this a while ago. When they did the update. I'm going to keep it muted. But yeah, so it's but this is a good one because this is a link style green. So the greens are usually really faster in link style as an example. And remember, when I tried link style course, it just felt very soft. Well, here it's here, I'm just trying to get it on there, a little chip. And then, it's going to fast forward. Just see how much it rolls and stuff. But I like how it kind of turns a bit. Just depending on your shot and how the green reacted, which I think it did a better job capturing that. Or another example. Yeah, just fast forward here. Yeah, so there we go. This is a drive, and this is link style. I think link style is a great example of ball physics and just how the course reacts, because links is very wide open, known to the elements. Balls tend to roll a lot, move a lot. So I think it's I remember when I played not Whistling Straits, but first played the game, you get to do Abandoned Dunes in EA Sports, and it was just so cool to see how the ball reacted so differently playing on a link style course comparing to another. But you kind of see here, you see the little bumps, you see that's how it's bouncing and moving a bit with that terrain. See, it sees a slope and it kind of pulls it back. I thought EA did a really good job, at least in my opinion, compared to 2K23, but it really looks like they're up in the game here.
Our commentators to react in real time, just as they would on TV.
Right on line, but just misses.
So
real quick before that voice there, I'm very certain that's Andrew Catalan. He is actually like the secondary. He's like a backup host for CBS Sports. So normally Jim Nance does the host duties for tournaments. However, they do air, like I think about 20ish tournaments a year, maybe a little more. And so there's some weeks that he will not be in there, like Jim Nance, I should say. So Andrew would usually be the fill-in host. And at majors, and he's usually one of the other boosts because they do an expanded crew for a major tournament at the Masters and PGA tournament. But I think it's a very good voice. I'm kind of glad to see that because I thought the commentary didn't really upgrade at all in 2K23 and 2K1, and I just didn't like it in general. Oh, didn't mean to do that.
So good old John McCarthy can roast you with even more action engine and their My Player's current skills to dynamically simulate holes on a course.
I mean, they had this in, I think, before, and at least EA, so, typical stuff there. Training sessions, that's nice. Practice rounds. So, again, the graphics look a lot better. I like the lighting, the sun. I think it's doing a much better job with the shadows and so forth. Now, this is where I did really want to get into. Now we're going to the actual character, and more so the career mode, in my opinion. Through the new conversation and interview system, players will begin to build out their own personality and their fan base. After a tournament is finished, players will receive invites to press conferences and sit-down interviews with media outlets, messages from fellow PGA Tour pros to compete in rivalries, and offers from major brands for sponsorship opportunities. Performance-based sponsorship opportunities will arise that result in a change to the player's popularity. Reaching each threshold of popularity will earn the user a chunk of VC to improve their My Player's attributes, equipment, or apparel. Players will also be presented with various dilemmas that can make a direct impact on the course. For example, do you choose to hit the weights hard and gain some power, or focus on mobility and improve your rhythm? Each decision will have a meaningful impact on your player's attributes in the next tournament. In every conversation, the user can build out their My Player's personality, which can either be bold, reserved, or composed. Players are encouraged to pick the personality that resonates with them and stay consistent in the public eye to increase their popularity quickly. So overall, I really like that. It seems like they're now borrowing a page from the NBA 2K series. Yeah, because in EA Sports, I mean, your character's just your character. There's no sponsorship. Well, I tell you that. I think there is there's challenges, but there's not like this system where it really reminds me of the 2K series. Where you have like personalities, press conference from the looks of it, talking to other players or people, I should say, NPCs, and sponsorships. The only thing is, don't see, which I would never really expect it, but it'd be kind of cool. The one thing I do like about the 2K NBA 2K games, I like that big hub. It's like a city and stuff, and you see other players running around. There's like pickup games and stuff. Not really sure how you could do that with golf, besides like players running around a city and then heading off, I guess, on a taxi to a course or something. But it'd be kind of cool. They're like a mini, like a putt-putt game in the middle or something like that, or a driving range, like a Top Golf driving range where you just compete with other players like a game mode, but within the hub itself. But again, this is not NBA 2K. It doesn't have that same level of, in my view, probably like money or interest, like this game compared to NBA, I should say.
A layer on top of your My Career journey and the rest of the game is our new quest system.
So this is pretty much from 2K. They kind of do that. They had daily quests, daily, challenges like tournaments and stuff where it's like 4 holes. It's a good way to get kind of like the current game currency to buy clothes and stuff. And it looks like kind of similar. See the VC, awards and so forth.
This new system is another way for players to engage with the game quest for My Career.
But I do think it's good. Same with like My Career. They did that in EA as well, and it shows chapter awards. So they're basically borrowing the page from that book, which I think EA did a good job, and they didn't do that in 2K23 if I recall correctly. But yeah, we just go on. This is about customization. There's not much to show here. I think they're finally expanding it a bit, which is good. But it's still a lot of pre-built stuff, I would say. But I think they're adding more. There's more. There's definitely more than I think in the past. And I want to be fair. Even the EA game, it wasn't like super advanced. It wasn't like like Mass Effect back in the day where you can really customize your facial features and so forth.
You think best suits your playstyle is the foundation to build out the rest of your skills and attributes. In PGA Tour 2K25, you can choose from Greenskeeper, Powerhouse, Technician, Sculptor, and Magician. Can't decide what.
I like this here. I did think in EA, it doesn't. It has a different skill set, but in general, you can almost level them all up over time. So it's like everyone's like a powerhouse, and it's kind of like we saw some of these online tournaments where we hit like minus 25 or 30, just crazy, in like one round. Well, not minus 30, but you'll see like minus 20 in one round because you have like multiple eagles and albatross, and just because they can make them so OP depending on the course and so forth. Oh, jumped ahead.
And each archetype has its own set of starting attributes that are reflective of the specific playstyle. To improve these attributes, you use VC to apply attribute points. As you level up and assign attribute points to your different stats, your overall rating will increase, which is a measure of your total attribute ceiling. By default, each MyPlayer has a
So I'm mixed on this, and not because it's a purchase upgrade system, but I remember in the NBA 2K games, especially the last one I played a couple years ago, it was like really painful to level up your characters. Almost like they encourage you to start buying VC coins. Hopefully it's not as bad. Hopefully like it did say like with the quest stuff and that's your way to earn your coins. But I will say it does feel like this could be a little too grindy or slow depending on your I guess depending how it's all built. We won't know until the final product. But I do have a little concern here. Just
enough attribute points unlocked to progress to OVR 85. Once you reach that level, you must earn XP through completing rounds and objectives to increase your OVR to the 99 OVR cap. Once you reach an OVR of 90 with one of your MyPlayers, you unlock Rebirth. This gives all newly created MyPlayers a pool of free attribute points that you can assign to a new MyPlayer right away to jumpstart your progress. Skills in 2K25 have been completely overhauled with new branching trees for each discipline on the course. Each tree is populated with a ton of all new shot types and the ability to improve your proficiency
I know they did this in the past game, like the trees and stuff, but definitely looks more
for each type. There are 5 main skill trees to choose points available, which limits the player 2K25. We're introducing.
Alright, as I said, we're not going to watch everything verbatim. We're kind of jumping around, just kind of going over the brief stuff.
Equipment progression. The ability to earn experience on the clubs and balls that you choose to take into each round. Clubs will have the ability to be leveled up by set. Players can level up their clubs by either continually playing rounds with chosen set of clubs, or by using level up tokens that they have earned or purchased. The level of your club will determine the amount of fitting slots it has.
I'm going to stop right here. When it says like stuff to purchase, I am curious. Is it purchase of the VC coins you're in the game, or ways to earn that, or is it going to be truly got to spend mostly like real money to get that stuff? And again, I know it sounds a little harsh, but just the NBA 2K has become pretty notorious. It's like you could always earn everything in the game. It just became so grindy and so time consuming that was so frustrating. And then especially because like if you didn't get the game like release day and you try to play like in online modes, you're so outmatched and so forth. So that's like, and those guys just keep buying and leveling up. There's just a lot. But again, I'm just being more cautious, let's say, just because I know 2K has had that foundation with the NBA games in the past. Like I think the golf's been a lot better in that regard so far, but again, it's just hard to say.
Level 1 clubs have 1 fitting slot available. Level 2.
Real quick, they did this in EA with these fitting slots. It was kind of like additional power, correction, and stuff. So I'm glad they brought that.
Have 2, and so on. Performance of your club that benefit layered on top of your MyPlayer attributes. They are at the core of our new equipment progression system, and our new approach is focused on simple.
Yeah, very similar, but this feels a lot more, very similar to EA, I should say, but this feels a lot more advanced and more in depth, which I do like.
Simplifying things, but PGA Tour 2K25 also have Evo tiers, which consist of 5 levels with increased boosts for each tier. Once you have completely leveled up a club, you can use an Evo tool to evolve your clubs to the next tier, which unlocks.
Yeah, so it's just more of that. By the way, I'll link this trailer in my description in case you want to watch it by yourself about my voice and multiple sets of clubs.
There are a lot of improvements and new features in PGA Tour 2K25 to help you create your own experience on the tour. At HB, 2 of our core pillars are self-expression and golf authenticity, and we're really excited how we've been able to bring these 2 pillars together to allow you to craft your own unique journey through the ranks and onto your way to becoming the greatest of all time on the PGA Tour.
All right. So overall, it definitely looks like a good sequel. I think it's definitely it's definitely a better sequel. I think from 23 to 25 and from 21 to 23. Like I feel like it didn't change as much. It didn't seem to justify a full price in my view with 23. It wasn't a bad game. It's just more when you want to buy a sequel, especially when it's like a 2-year gap. It's not annual like Madden or NBA where it does feel like sometimes they phone it in some years and other years it actually feels like an upgrade. But it's like with a 2-year gap, you expect at least more of an upgrade. As this one actually does feel better, and I'll go before I go now fully in the career mode, which we kind of did touch upon, but I did want to go more in depth about all of that. I do like how that's how the game looks. I think the swing stuff looks really good. They're actually doing more in depth with your archetypes and clubs, and more importantly, at least for me, what I've seen, the course looks like it reacts a lot better now with your balls, the slopes. I'm sure conditions going to matter, where maybe like you can make the greens run be firmer or slower, and it should react that way. So it seems like they're really emphasizing that element, as they said, and of course the personality, which will now lead into the career mode. Oh yeah, we're going to pull up their site here. I actually want to get into the features here. So, and this is we'll talk about this a lot soon. But yeah, so we'll look at my career. Yeah, same trailer. Yeah, see dynamic rounds. So it's just a lot of the stuff we went to. The sponsorships. Yeah, but see, here's this again. Press conferences, media outlets. I'm curious how that would look like. I am curious how that's all going to look, because it didn't show like the only media outlet attended was the press conference, you at a podium. But I wonder if there'd be like actual interviews where it shows you like talking to someone, like Amanda from CBS or something, or like, just maybe like Golf Channel or something, or like a radio show. Yeah, they did the rivalries in the previous game. That was kind of like the change from 2-1 to 2-3, if I remember right. I thought that was fine. It was kind of interesting seeing the different players and how there was like a rivalry and so forth. Yeah, because in EA, real quick, when you had to play against players, it was usually in the challenge modes. It was like sponsorships or something, and then eventually you can unlock the like a full round with someone. Major brands. So obviously, I think it'd be very similar to what I saw in EA. Obviously the clothing brands like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Sunday Red, Tiger's new brand now. Maybe Malbon Golf. I'm curious if they make it or not. Which would sponsor like Jason Day. They're also more active in the women's side of golf. And then clubs like TaylorMade and Mizuno and so forth. It'd be interesting if they do like if they actually get like brands like cars and stuff, and you try to actually get that on your uniform, but your basically your outfits. If you look at the pros, they'll have like sponsors like cars or like airlines in the past. There's some that have an LOB logo for some reason, so stuff like that. Yeah, so that's where you're gonna get. It looks like your chunk of VC is from sponsorships and other ways. Yeah, they're talking about how you kind of level up your character and so forth, which I think is really cool. The quest system, which I say they call it quests. It reminds me of the challenges, but they did apply like getting coins and stuff to unlock clothing and stuff, but not and leveling up. But it was easy to level up just doing the career mode itself. But to get like the coins to purchase new clothes, it was easy to do it through the daily challenges they did in EA. So overall, this is definitely a big step in the Mike player and career, which I did felt like was lacking in the previous game. Like it was just mostly the same tournaments they had, and I'm actually about to go into all of that here shortly. But this one looks like at least they're getting you more in depth with your career over just playing the season and nothing else. And to be fair, EA was kind of like that too. I think with the majors and some of the other tournaments they had, it made it more enticing for me. And I did like the level up system between, with the Corn Fairy and all that. But I think here they're doing a better job now trying to get like, make it feel like it's a full career, and not just the FedEx Cup, which is in the previous games, but also adding in the majors. I'm actually going to go a big course breakdown, but yeah, they're going to have this year's two majors, outside the Masters. So they have Oakmont, they have Pot Rush, which that one I'm looking forward to. Like, unfortunately, EA will not have that, it looks like, this year, unless they're going to do a big update soon. And then Quill Hollow, which has actually been in EA before, and I want to say it's actually been in 2K as well, because I think it had the Wells Fargo in the past. And the Wells Fargo is actually a new there's a new name this year, which I'm showing my spreadsheet over here. So unfortunately, with the PGA Championship, they're playing at a course goes there every year on the PGA Tour. So it's really nothing new. It's kind of like Torrey Pines, which I do like Torrey Pines a lot, and I think Quail is a nice course as well. But it's not like a new unique license course like Pot Rush or Oakmont, which we haven't had in a game either ever, which I think would be Pot Rush here, or in a long, long time like Oakmont, because not in the current EA Sports game. And I think the last time I saw it had to be in the Tiger Woods era, the late 2000s, early 2010s. So it's been a long time since we had Oakmont. And then the rest of the courses are about the same that I think have been in the past. I'm honestly not sure. I don't think this one was in the previous game, but I could be wrong. But I know these are the Tour Championship, Rocket Mortgage, Valspar, Genesis. Actually, I don't think Pinehurst was. They added that in, but it was also in EA Sports when they did the Pinehurst update last year. So they did last year is the last year support to my knowledge of new major courses and the Ryder Cup. No, wait. Yeah, and the Ryder Cup. They didn't do the President's Cup. Canadian, yeah. Spyglass. So EA never got this, but they actually have it in this one, which is a good one. This one I like a lot. They have the RBC Canadian Open. That's actually one of my favorite tournaments that's non-major per year. And this is like top of the rock, so these are not a PGA event, but kind of a neat course. Farmers Insurance. So, and this is where they get into the other ones. Like most of the rest of these have been in the last couple games for sure. I don't see this year's BMW. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now, so this is what they show on this side. Sorry, apologize. I'm going to say like on their site and so forth. But I actually want to break down now the PGA Tour calendar, and I'm going to show you comparisons between both here. And it's going to be a little boring looking, so we'll try our best. It is a spreadsheet. It was just the easiest way to organize it. So I got the courses based on this year's schedule. So I put green as the signature event. So for those aren't too familiar, there's signature events on the PGA Tour. It's only for like the top 70, 80 players roughly, no cut. So it's supposed to have like higher payouts. It's supposed to guarantee like more events with stronger fields for sure. While the other ones are more fill-in events, either qualify or just whatever they need to like their sponsors like the last couple years, like the Pebble Beach Pro Am has been a signature event, but the first year when they did this signature event, they did not make that one. So you saw, but then like Jordan Spieth still played in it because he had a sponsorship of AT&T, or Jordan Spieth played in event in Texas every year because he was a sponsor with AT&T. So there's gonna be always good players in each tournament, but with the signature events, kind of like the majors where it's almost guaranteed like really strong fields each time. So we're going to start with the first two, and they're neither in the game. It's usually called the opening drive. It's in Hawaii. To me, it's been disappointing that none of them got either one. Like, there was actually a game, I think, in N64. They had the Sony Open, which it wasn't then. I think it was called United Airlines. But it's in Hawaii. It's in Honolulu. They had that course. So it was like a game that had that. The Century is at the Plantation course. And sadly, you know, it's not in either game, which is a shame. I think it's a beautiful course. And I want to be fair. These are licensed courses. There are fan created courses that do capture that. So that's where 2K has a huge jump because they do have the created course. But I just want to go through the licensed courses and the licensed tournaments right now before we go on to that. But yeah, neither game has the first two opening drive. This is actually where the season opens up. Signature event, only last year's champions, top of 30 or 50 that made the tour championship. It's a very unique field. And then Sony opens like the first full field event. But then you go into the American Express. Now EA Sports had that, and actually it's a cool course. It's out in Palm Springs area. Now that said, it only includes PGA West, which is one course. This tournament's actually at 3 different courses where they first 3 rounds. There's actually only a cut for the 4th round, so they play the first 3 rounds at the Nicholas course, which is also part of the PGA West group. It's not the main PGA West course. La Quinta, which is like a private course nearby, and then PGA West. It only has the main PGA West course, the stadium course, I think was what they call it. Really cool, but doesn't have the other 2 courses that make up the tournament. So, but at least it has. I think it's a cool little event. It's kind of like the last, I would say almost sleepy event before it really picks in the high gear for the PGA Tour because, the football players are usually on the wild card round weekend. It used to be the divisional round or championship weekend, but it's still kind of like, we're just getting off of the holidays, and now the PGA Tour is starting to pick up. Then the next week is in both games is the Farmers Insurance Open. Torrey Pines, good course, hosts the U.S. Open. So there's a U.S. Open course in both games technically. It's not scheduled to host the U.S. Open anytime soon, but did host it in 2021 though. Then Pebble Beach. This is where 2K's got an advantage because this tournament right now it's on two courses. It's on Spyglass and Pebble. It's a pro-am, so usually the first 2 days they do one round in each, and then the final 2 days it's just the pros at Pebble Beach. Before they did this more signature event, the smaller field, it used to be at three courses. It used to be like a Monterey Country Club as well, but they always had Spyglass and Pebble for the longest time. And sadly, EA does not have Spyglass, but they both do have Pebble, and it is still a fun course and tournament. They both got the Waste Management Open, TPC Scottsdale. They both got the Genesis Invitational at Riviera. One of my favorite courses and usually tournaments this year, sadly, because of the tragic wildfires in Los Angeles, it will not be at Riviera. It's going to be moved to Torrey Pines because the fires were really right next to the course, so it's just not able to, from the infrastructure and stuff, it's just not going to happen. But yeah, so this is the end of the West Coast swing. So it starts with Hawaii and then goes in West Coast, all basically California and Arizona through here. And this is where it kind of opens up a little bit before it goes into Florida. It goes to the Mexico Open. Neither tournament's had this. It used to be a World Golf Championship event, which was like in Florida than they did in Mexico for a while. But sadly, they got rid of the World Golf Championships. They're not around anymore. And then with the Mexico Open, it's kind of it's a really sleepy event. I think usually after a lot of the top players would be, and usually in these four tournaments, either all four or a combination of the four. So usually when the Mexico Open, it's a little more sleepy with only like a few notable names are in it. Then you got this new tournament in Palm Beach. They've done Palm Beach for years. Used to be the Honda. So they're trying to keep that tournament going. There used to be a lot more history, a lot more good players went to it, but just over the years with just how the schedule's set up and more of the like Genesis became more popular because Tiger Woods hosted, or like Waste Management Open was a big one, or even like Pebble Beach, and the Arnold Palmer's usually next to it. So that tournament kind of really got stuck in the, put on the back burner. Again, neither's in either tournament. There's like a fake Florida course. I wouldn't say even looks anything like that, but at least it's trying to replicate like a Florida course. Then the next two are in both games. The Arnold Palmer and the Players Championship. I like the Players Championship. TPC Sawgrass is a really neat course. I don't hate Bay Hill, but the thing is, and this also would apply to the Palm Beach course if it was in the game. It's just a lot of hitting over water because this is the Florida swing. From here, these 4 weeks are all in Florida, so it's the Florida swing because this is still March. It's basically like February, March era. So they try to stay in the South where it's still warmer because it's still too unpredictable for like 2/3 of the country. And it's like it's just with Bay Hill, it's just and look Palm Beach, it's just a lot of hit over water, and it's not a bad design or anything. There actually is some narrow fairways. It's like there's a lot of penalties where it's water, big lake on one side, or it's like a bunch of slopes and sand traps on the other. So it's definitely a challenge, but it is just a lot of water. Where I prefer the West Coast swing, I like you got ocean views. There's a lot of more slopes, hills, head over canyons a couple times. You got mountains in the background. Like I think there's a lot more variety in these 4 weeks, or in this one, these 5 weeks, than it is in these 4 weeks. But the Players Championship's a great one. Now this one, the Valspar, that's definitely, I mean, kudos for 2K to get that. It's not I won't say it's the biggest, most important field, but especially after the back-to-back strong weeks. But it gets a decent field, and more importantly, it's a pretty unique course. It's definitely not a lot of lakes, even though it's in Florida. It's a little more hilly. It's like on the western side, so it's a cool looking course. Kind of reminds you like playing inland a bit, like like if you're up in Tallahassee or something. But I think it's close to the Tampa region. None of them have ever had the Houston Open. It's there. Now this is another tournament that 2K has that EA has, and there's a pattern here. Like EA sends a lot more of the earlier season, and then it starts losing steam after the spring. Like it does a lot, but then only does both only do 2 out of 4. It only does 2 out of 4 of the Florida tournament. This is 3 out of 4, and then it's got a couple of the Texas tournaments, or at least has one of the Texas tournaments where there's none in EA. Um, Overall, it's kind of like one of those tournaments. Not a lot of attention besides the people who like last desperate to still qualify for the Masters, either rankings or win or whatever it is to get in. Now, this one obviously this is the Masters major. EA's got a huge advantage there. There's no other way to say it. Um, I thought they did a great job how they handled Augusta. Played really well. Really, it is funny when you watch on TV, but if you play the game, it really makes you appreciate just how challenging that course can be. Because it is like a course where I think if you're certain style of games, we played there enough, you just know how to play that course and around that property. But it's like an example. There's a lot of greens that tilt like one direction, so you just gotta be mindful when it lands. It's gonna like continue rolling. So just like there's a lot of little stuff there. And this one is a shame it's not in 2K, but I do like it a lot in EA. It's Hilton Head. It's RBC Heritage. They've kind of made this into an elevated event, but I think it's a cool course. It's just it's only like an hour or two away from Augusta. It's like off of the Atlantic Ocean there in the South Carolina area. Yeah, South Carolina. I was gonna say maybe Georgia. No, South Carolina. But anyway, it's just cool, and it's like a mix. You're kind of like almost like in the this neighborhood, and it feels like you're like in the woods, but like the southeastern type woods and forests. Where it's more swampy looking, and then all of a sudden you're kind of out near this, not technically off the land, but close, where it's like this wide open, like other island and sea views, and you're hitting over like a marsh and stuff. I think it's a cool course. It's pretty unique. It's very narrow, so it really emphasizes different style of games of some of the holes before you get a feel of the wider open holes and more makeable. So, and to me, this is an advantage for EA because it is another elevated event the last few years. This one has a Zurich Classic. The thing is, I don't remember. I think it just treats a normal tournament, but in reality, it's a team tournament of two players each. It's actually kind of a fun little tournament. Even like Rory's been playing it more often, so you get some cool stuff in that. But yeah, that one 2K has. I don't know if I would consider if it was like a true team event with the music and stuff, I'd say. But I mean, TPC Louisiana, it's not a bad course. It's nice looking, but it's nothing special. It doesn't really stand out anything unique. None of them got the Brian Nelsons. Like Craig Ranch was another. It just looks like a suburban course, country club anywhere you'll find on earth. Now this year, it's the Truist Championship. This should be the Wells Fargo. It's not at Quail Hollow this year, but Quail Hollow is the normal course. This year they're going to do it in Pennsylvania, I think in Philly. I don't remember the course on top of my head. That course is not in either game because normally it's at Quail Hollow, but this year's PGA Championship. Now this is we're going to go in the other three majors. We're going to different bits. So they actually got this year's PGA Championship. Now technically, Quail Hollow is in EA because it's there for the Wells Fargo, but I don't think they program it to work to actually host a PGA tournament. Like if you go through seasons in there, they got a rotation of several courses for each of the majors minus Augusta because they built that up. I don't think they have that sadly for the PGA Championship Quail Hollow, but at least it's in the game. You at least want to try. But it does have several past PGA Championship courses. We'll go there in a bit. This one saddens me. I like the Charles Schwab. It's in Houston, a Colonial. It's an old, or not Houston. I'm sorry, Fort Worth. A very cool old course. Hosted the U.S. Open in the '50s, so it's just old, narrow. I like those courses. There's actually a course that is in the two that kind of reminds me of that. We'll get to that in a bit. Um, this one has surprised me. I don't understand why none of them have the Memorial. It's Jack Nicklaus's tournament. It's considered one of the big highlights of the year. I would say it's probably right up there with the Genesis. Like in terms of the non-majors, like the ones the PGA Tour runs, the Players Championship would be the big one, and I'm going to exclude the playoffs. But let's say during the regular season, the Players Championship's the big one. Then I would say the Genesis and then the Memorial. Just because, Tiger's Genesis and also is one of the coolest courses I think out there on the tour. And I think Memorial is really good. A lot of big moments, always great fields. Jack Nicklaus, they've kept it elevated. When they did the elevation, they made sure that's included. But sadly not in it. But the next one, that's definitely a positive for, excuse me, 2K. The Canadian Open. I think it's sadly because of like the schedule with all this stuff here. It's kind of gone and put on the back burner as well. Luckily, still some really good players show up for it, and I think now putting it, they used to put it after the Open Championship, which made it tough for guys to come back across the pond to play in that after playing in a major. So they're trying to do it now before a major and try to keep it in basically like North America. But it used to be considered like the unofficial fifth major. A lot of history. It's one of the oldest tournaments on the PGA Tour. And obviously being a Canadian Open, there's actually Canadian amateurs in it. So, and a Canadian finally won it not too long ago. So it's just like really cool to see that and just the passion there. So it's a national open. And to me, national opens, it's from the Mexico Open, but it's still kind of it hasn't gained any steam yet. Seem to mean more to me. Anyway, next one, U.S. Open. Oakmont is not in 2K or sorry EA Sports, obviously 2K, but they do have past courses, including the last 3 U.S. Open courses with technically Torrey Pines too, but that was really just for Farmers Insurance Open. But it did have the Country Club in Boston, which is in 22. It had uh, Pinehurst was also in this game last year. So I'm trying to think. So 22. Where was 23 at? Oh, hold on. Last 3 U.S. Open courses. I'm having a brain fart. Let's look down here. LA Country Club. That's the other one. So it's got Country Club. It's got the old course in Boston. And then it's also got last year Pinehurst #2. So anyway. So it's like, so at least you got 3 courses in there. And then obviously they did include Pebble into that rotation because they do go to Pebble quite a bit. It just didn't include Torrey Pines because it's only been there twice, but they has hosted. Then you have the Travelers Championship. This one is actually an advantage, definitely for 2K. I guess with this one, I say it's even for me because like you get this year's course, but you have more options than just the current one. So it's just kind of is what it is. But again, this is licensed course. It's not fan made. TPC Highlands is really good. I actually like that one a lot. Kind of glad they got the Travelers Championship. I think it's a cool Northeast course. I do see kind of good example with the Canadian Open. It's squeezed between a major and 2 elevated events. So I think it's just kind of signature events, I should say. So it gets squeezed out. Then we kind of finish the summer. Now you kind of see here backtracking, minus the majors, EA Sports really doesn't have any of the summer schedule. Where this is where I would say 2K bulks it up quite a bit, and it's good and bad because I said like this is really good and this is really good, but then the next two, like Rocket Mortgage, like I actually like the course Detroit Golf Club. It's a Donald Ross course in Detroit, an old school club in like the 20s or 30s, narrow, kind of similar to Colonial I was describing earlier. But the fields aren't usually the best, but it's a cool course. I give them props for that. And you have Deer Run. I personally like TPC Deer Run because I've played there and it's a really nice course. But on TV with the pros, they just, it's like it's nothing for them, which is funny because I play there, I get destroyed. This one is weird. Now the Scottish Open was in last year's or the previous iteration of 2K, but it's not in this one. I did not see the course. Is that I think not Riviera, Renaissance. Is that Renaissance up in Scotland? They didn't show it on this year's list. Like we went through the list, it's not here. So I don't know if they lost the rights to that or it's going to come out later. But yeah, that's a shame because that's actually a good tournament. I like that one a lot, and I like that course too. Just another link style course. Some of the golf architect people will be critical of it, but I still think it's pretty cool looking. I like it a lot. The Open, Pot Rush, but the last 3 year courses with Liverpool, St. Andrews. Now, St. Andrews is going to be added into the 2K later this year. They had St. Andrews, Royal Liverpool, and what was last year? In Liverpool. Maybe that is it. Yeah, I don't see any other opens. Hold on, let me take a look here. 2024 Open Championship. What was this? This was on Liverpool again, was it? Troon, that's right. I apologize. They had a Royal Troon as well. I forgot to put that on my list. I knew I missed one. Anyway, yeah, Sergio was not prepared. 3 unopened. It's there. I'm glad they have it. It's better than having no license, but yeah. Same, another I don't have the window one. That's kind of a neat little old school course as well in North Carolina. It's kind of like the last one also to get into the playoffs. So it'd be kind of neat to have that. It's kind of, I watched that quite a bit because it's kind of neat to see who's on the bubble. Still trying to qualify. Especially now it's only the top, I think 70. It used to be like 125, now it's 70. 70, 50, 30, so they cut it down. The playoffs, so it's made it a lot more interesting. Now this one's interesting. They both got this one, the FedEx St. Jude's, the TPC Southwind. A nice course. It's down in Memphis. I hate with the schedule they play this in August. There's like the last place on earth you should play is in Memphis, Tennessee in August. Now this one's interesting. I did not see this year's BMW Championship into the game. I should probably pull this up. Yeah, so this year, I'm trying to think where it's at this year. It's not in St. Louis. That's soon. Yeah, so it's in Cays Valley, and that's not in EA Sports. So this is in Cays Valley before the EA Sports game came out. But it did have Wilmington, which was 2023, and last year, uh, no, sorry, 22 was Wilmington, and 23 was in Olympia Fields. Last year's in Colorado did not update it with the updated course, so they have two of the BMW courses. The last update they did was last year's majors, and that was it. They didn't do the updated BMW Championship, and that course moves every year. I said there's a slight rota. There's certain courses, and they go back to more often, like Olympia Fields, Cays Valley again, Wilmington. But they're going to go to St. Louis a few years from now. They were in Colorado last year, so they try to move around a little bit. And both got East Lake. It's the Tour Championship's been there a long time. Now we're going to go into the Ryder Cup. That is an advantage for EA. They got the Ryder Cup with the Italy course. Since I have not heard any updates, and we'll finish our video with that about all that, then it's like I doubt they're going to get this year's Ryder Cup into the tournament, unfortunately. Shriners, I'm trying to think, where is it? I know it's in New York. Why am I having a... Oh, 2025 Ryder Cup. Sorry. Bethpage Black. I know it's like a B, but it just wasn't the right word in my head. Anyway, but this is a fall event. It's like the only one I saw they've had in that I know for sure in EA, or sorry, in 2K. It's the Shriners at TPC Summerlin. EA didn't have any fall events. I find a little I'm a little mixed. The only reason is like they're really just more to either qualify for the PGA Tour. But there's a few events I do like. There's one in tournament that in Japan they do every year. What's the Zozo? They actually moved it to Yokohama next year in a new sponsorship. At least they're still doing a Japanese tournament. And it's kind of neat because they actually had a field from the Japan tour and so forth. And then they have a new one in Black Desert in Utah that looked really cool. But if we at least go into here, actual season tournaments that we know of that are licensed. So during the regular season, they have 20, while EA only has 17. But with signature and majors, EA has a slight advantage at 13-11. So I excluded the TBD, so I excluded this, I think, for both. Actually, no, I think I included this, but yeah. But, oh yeah, the TBD I did not include was the Genesis, I think. So it's kind of like one of those. Yeah, I said exclude that for now because we don't know, and I think I excluded that. So, but it's still more in-season tournaments, but you have more of the major, I would say, notable events. But then this is the license courses here. I tried to match it up what they had, and then what's different. Again, what they license. Atlantic Beach, Paynes Valley, both got Pinehurst now, Top of the Rock. Both have St. Andrews and both TPC Boston. You see kind of here, this is where, and a lot of these are majors. Olympia Fields, Wilmington, I mentioned the BMW. Southern Hills had the PGA a few years ago. Whistling Straits has hosted the PGA Championship. Kewah hosted the PGA Championship. Chambers Bay, which hosted the U.S. Open. These are a couple other courses, but no majors, but notable. It had Liberty National, which is not bad. It used to host the Barclays. It used to be 4 playoff events instead of 3, so it used to have another one there. Tier Edie, that's a Pan Am Championship course, or at least in the game. I think it had hosted in reality, but it's out of New Zealand. It's very sandy, very unique. I like it a lot. Bend Dunes is really nice. U.S. Amateur is hosted U.S. Am there. Now this is the difference. They have some of the LPGA in it, and they have the LPGA major with the Evian. I don't know if they had the U.S. Women's Open in it. I didn't play the female character, to be honest. But at least it had that. Tea for the Dog. It's in Dominican Republic, I believe. That's Latin America, and then the other updates. Valhalla, Margaret Simone. I put 2 fantasy courses, but I didn't count it. So I put like licensed courses at 26. Well, here it's a little over 30 with updates. So that's why I put 30 plus. So it was a little less than that with updates. I went over 30. But these are licensed courses, so if you add in the library 2K, the fan-made library, the course creator, then it's miles ahead of EA. And that's where they was probably the big advantage, to be honest, was in that perspective, where it was like, okay, we won't have the licensed courses, but a lot of people created these courses themselves. So, kind of give or take. But yeah, so that's kind of I know this become a little long. I did like a breakdown of all this because I thought it was really interesting to see all the different courses and so forth. But yeah, I'm glad that 2K is still supporting it. There's a good community. I hope EA doesn't just fully give up on this series. It's kind of weird. Like they still got the servers active, but they haven't done a mini update since last summer. I think they did one last major patch and that's been it. And I get it's been over 2 years now since it's been out. Because I think it came out spring of 23, so it'd be 2 years soon. But it is like weird how they've been just quiet. There's been nothing, and there's either they may announce something that I guess maybe around the major or excuse me the Masters week, because that's what they did when they originally announced the revitalization of this game was around the Masters. I think it came out in the summer, but it's like whatever, like a year and later. But that's when they announced it. And it was I think it got delayed, and they finally pushed it out. But they did a really good job. Yeah, see, April 2nd. Actually, I did that last year in the spring. So it's been a year since there's been any notable update. No news articles, no posts on their social, because they did a really good job. I liked, they add the new major courses each year. I mentioned 2K will try that next year, like next year's majors courses at the Open, U.S. Open, or the PGA Champ. But at least they're doing this year's course. They're going to add St. Andrews, which is just almost like a given now in any game. The birthplace of golf, which is fair, cool to see and play. I always enjoy playing that course in the game. So yeah, it'd be very interesting. I hope they don't give it up because I don't hate 2K. I actually do like it. I just thought when it came to Career Mode in the majors, EA did a good job, but now 2K looks at least caught up with that. Just curious how the gameplay feels. I think if the ball physics and changes, I think it's going in the right direction. So I don't know if it'll be a day one purchase, but definitely like leaning towards to buying it this spring and just getting, or I took that back. Sometime in late February, early March when after it comes out. So, but yeah, at least the golf scene is still strong in the video game side, while in the real world, it's just a mess between live and all that. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Have a thank you for listening to my ramblings here, and have a good time. Bye bye for now.